Sure. Again, thanks for you guys joining us today. Just a quick review of the Minnesota game. Obviously, when as a head coach, you have a 2-week opportunity to prepare for a team like Minnesota and to go out and not execute to the level in which we needed to execute to give ourselves a chance to win. When you watch the tape, it's disappointing because I really feel as though we put in a couple of good weeks of practice. And, as you watch the tape and evaluate it, as we did pretty intently, with our team, we're one or two plays away in that game from having what we want at the end of it. You think back to the blocked field goal with a chance to scoop and score, to tie the game. You think of the 4th and 1 drop. You think of the 3rd and longs that they were able to get off the field on, and I always felt we were one play away in that game. And then obviously, for them to have the ability to run the football, that to me was probably the biggest disappointment, because we know going into the game that that's the strength of what they do. And as we game plan offensively, defensively, and special teams, our jobs as coaches are to find ways to, as we like to say, make them play left-handed. And I didn't feel like we did that. On the defensive side, I did see some improvements on our special teams with the cover units, whether it be the punt team, the field goal block, keeping points off the board. And then when you look at the film, I thought our quarterback actually played probably the best game he's played since prior to the start of kind of him hitting a rough patch there in the Iowa game. And so I'm encouraged as we get ready for Indiana that when you look at the tape, if you can just find a way to correct the one mistake here on each play. And unfortunately, football is one of those sports that if one guy makes a mistake, it can be magnified. And so our jobs as the coaches, as I said, is to teach and demand. And our players' jobs are to prepare and perform. And I feel good about the energy. The one thing I do coming out of that game is that the effort is still there. I mean, these guys continue to play hard, play into the fourth quarter. One of our pillars is to win the fourth quarter. And I haven't seen these guys quit, and so that to me encourages me every week we come in. And I like the way we started out yesterday. Being able to have an accountability for the game, coaches and players alike. As we dissected it, and I saw guys take accountability for their actions just like we do as coaches, and that's encouraging. On some good news, obviously Indiana's coming in, homecoming. Homecoming is a great opportunity. Football creates a brotherhood that transcends through generations, and we have an opportunity for some of our former players to come back and some of our former students here to come back, and homecoming is for them. For us, we're the show, and it's our job to, as I always say, go out and put a product on the field that these people coming back here to campus can be proud of. And I expect us to do that. Indiana's a tough team. They're one of those teams that has really been built the right way. Their coach, I got a ton of respect for Tom Allen. I've known him for quite some time now and have competed against his teams, and they're always, hard-fought games, whether he was at South Florida or to when he went to Indiana as a coordinator to him taking over. If you just sit back and look at a team's record, I don't always think it tells the story, and I think their record is just that. I mean, they are dealing with some injuries, which we know all too well, at some key positions that may contribute. They've played 4 or 5 top 20 teams. So, again, they're a good team, and they're great. It's a great opportunity for us to be back here in the shell. Hopefully we'll have a great crowd because of homecoming. We are honoring our 2001 ACC championship team, which I was a part of. And, as I told our team yesterday, it's kind of ironic that this 01 team is being honored, because I was part of the build of that from 97 to 2000. And if you recall that era, the first couple of years were 2 or 3 win teams. And then we had a 5-6, and we finished with a 5-6 record. And at one point we were 5-2, and we lost every game from there. And one thing that stood out to me when that coaching search took place for a guy that I call a great mentor, Coach Friedgen, I can remember E.J. Henderson or Denard Wilson and Aaron Thompson standing up, because I was part of the transition team, having been kept on. And I remember them saying, "Coach, how are you going to help us win?" And one of the first things he said, and it's kind of become a mantra of mine, that Coach Friedgen said to the team was, I'm not going to teach you how to win. I'm going to teach you how not to lose, how not to beat yourself. And from that day on, I've kind of carried that as my mantra as a coach is good teams don't beat themselves. And I learned that from Coach Friedgen, who will also be honoring here this Saturday for his Bobby Dodd National Coach of the Year reunion. And then a great player who I had a chance to be a part of the recruiting process, E.J. Henderson being recognized for his Hall of Fame induction into the College Football Hall of Fame. So a big weekend for Terp football, and I think, or what I hope is that, for our team, that we do all the necessary things that we have to do to prepare and then go out and perform. And then we as coaches do a great job of teaching this week and demanding that they go out and put their best foot forward, because there is a lineage of great players that have come through this program that deserve it. And having watched what happened in that transition from the 2000 team that Ron Vanderlinden created to Ralph Friedgen coming in and taking it over and teaching them how not to lose. And that's where I kind of find myself with this team, is teaching them how not to lose. And I've got a great experience from being under a guy like Ralph Friedgen that I have so much respect for and looking forward to seeing him. So with that, I guess the captains for this game, we're going with an all-defensive side of captains. Lautez Rogers, Greg Rose, and Jacorian Bennett will serve as our team captains. And then from that, I guess I'll open it up for questions.
Mike, working with Talia this season and getting the quarterback's confidence, you mentioned about how he played this past Saturday. How do you, with the stumbling blocks he's had the last couple of weeks here and there, how do you sort of work with him and get him going?
Yeah, the irony of it is, and usually it's the head coach, then the quarterback that usually gets at the brunt of a lot of stuff when you're on a 3-game losing streak. But, when you look at Talia on Saturday, minus the fumble, which, again, here's a guy trying to create and make a play, I think he was 17 of 27, and he had 5 drops. And so if you catch the ball 5 more times, he's 22 of 27. And then he had some big-time throws in the game, made great decisions. And so sometimes I think it's a little unfair, so I'm going to stand up here and protect him like the Papa Bear that, he's not probably had played his best in the Iowa game, made some mistakes. I thought Ohio State, he took a step forward, and then I thought this game he's as close to what he's been. But you also have to realize some of the pieces aren't around him, and that's where I think we all, coaches included, have to make sure we understand that we've got to do and call things and execute things based on who's out there and what we can get executed. And that's one of the things we've made an emphasis this week. So I'm going to sit here and say that I think Talia Tagovailoa is playing really good football still. He has the full support of us, our team, and we were able to show the tape that, I think the kid played a really good game Saturday.
Staying with the offense, what do you make of the progress with Marcus Fleming and McDougal getting on the field last week?
Yeah, as I said, they both are talented players. I think Marcus probably is a lot further ahead than Day. I anticipated Marcus to have the type of game that he had for us because of how he's practiced and presented himself the last couple of weeks. I think with Day, there's still some work to be done. He's still a work in progress, and hopefully we can get him to the level that we all think he's capable of playing at. But really, really proud of the way Marcus has come along, and it's been a process with him as a transfer, a young player, new system, new core values for how we do business. But the best thing about it is that I saw the transition for the last 2 to 3 weeks as we started having some of these injuries, that I knew he would be prepared to step in and maybe take on some of the responsibility of creating some big plays for us.
We look at performance at the line of scrimmage. I know you've mentioned over and over that's a years-long development process. But what type of things do you as a staff try to correct more on a short-term basis to try to resolve some of the run defense type issues we saw?
Yeah, when you look at this game Saturday, I pointed this out. We have team meetings where, typically you watch the film separate, with the offense just seeing what they do, the defense seeing what they do. But one of the things we do because of the accountability and the transparency, we do what we call a good, bad, ugly tape, where I lead it in front of the team. And one of the things that I was really excited to really point out is that those 3 interior guys, we're a 3-4 team. So the nose guard and, Ami, Mo, Greg Rose, Sam, it wasn't the interior part of our defense that was getting chewed up. It was our edges. And we didn't do a great job. And, again, that's not on the players. It's on us as coaches of the mismatches that they created when they play with extra linemen. And, all of a sudden some of our players that maybe aren't as big or stout to hold up and maintain, to play good run defense is all about gap control. And we lost the C-gap, D-gap area quite a bit in that game. And to me, that was really, really disappointing because we had 2 weeks to kind of come up with a plan, and we knew that we didn't have the Chaumies of the world, and it's my job as a head coach to make sure we put our players in the best possible position to be successful, and I didn't feel like we did that Saturday as far as the run defense part.
Coach, the most excruciating play of the game, and I think had it been converted, might have changed that whole result, was the blocked field goal that we had 5 guys around the ball with nobody around them. First of all, mentally, how do you survive that? But what should have happened there I know you practice those situations, or maybe you don't. Well, what went wrong on that? Because it was unbelievable, to watch.
Yeah, we practice a lot of scoop and score. We have drills for it. First of all, what you got to know about that play, and this is why I'm encouraged about this team, we had block right called. And block right meant that Jacorian should have been the guy rushing. And if you notice, I called timeout to try to ice the kicker. And in that timeout, Tarheeb Steele said, F that, go block left. I'm going to go get this. And I love when my players do that. I love the confidence they have. And so Coach Zook made the call to go block left. And he went and got that. Now, as far as the scoop and score part of it, I think you've pointed out, you see Jacorian has had a broken finger all year with the hand taped up, and we have drills where you want your knuckles on the ground when you go get it. The part that probably could have been done a little better is that the guys that weren't going to scoop, we teach them to turn around and shield the other guys to give him more time to go get it. But sometimes that's just how luck plays itself out, and luck is where preparation meets opportunity, and we didn't take advantage of it. But it was a big play that could have created some momentum, tied the game, and I felt even through the first drive of the second half, if we get a stop offensively, we did move the ball some on these guys, and there were some big plays where the explosive plays were starting to happen. But we didn't take advantage of it. That's what football is, though. Things like that happen, and you got to plow through it. We're back here getting ready for Indiana, and I'm excited for this opportunity.
Mike, you were such a part of the build-up to that 2001 when Ralph came in, and it seems like everything went right most of the season there. Do you draw any similarities now, the way you've brought talent into the program and where you are and how soon things are going to be so much better like that?
Yeah, it's a collective deal. Like, I played a role because I had one of the best areas in the country to recruit, this D.C. Metro, Prince George's County area, and I made a conscientious effort. I remember going to Ron Vanderlinden, who I got to give a lot of credit to. He's a guy that was one of the better evaluators of talent, because a guy we're honoring like E.J. Henderson was a 2-star guy that didn't have a lot of offers, but we had a system for evaluating players, and E.J. leaves here our most decorated player. So being a part of it, it was a group of coaches that really stuck to the process of what we wanted to do and knew the type of players it would take to win. And there were a lot of press conferences, I'm sure, for Ron Vanderlinden like I'm having now, where you start 5-2. I can remember that year starting 5-2 and losing to Duke in a heartbreaker here at home, a slant pass there at the end of the game. I can remember Billy McMullen catching the winning touchdown in the fade there when we played Virginia in the shootout between Lamont Jordan and Thomas Jones. And those are just heartbreaking. And so having been through those experiences of building programs, that's why I can sit here and have a lot of confidence that we're ahead of schedule, contrary to what outside the organization may think. And I feel really confident. We're bringing in the right kind of kids. We got some big-time young players in our program, and we're fighting through it. And I think this weekend you'll have a chance to see us really go out and get back to our standard.
Mike, you mentioned earlier that Indiana's taken some lumps this season. If you could expand on what concerns you about what they do, especially offensively, because even though they haven't shown a lot of firepower in Big Ten play, they bring a lot of people back from last year.
Yeah, to me, it's not really what they do, it's what we do, and I keep saying that, and I know you guys think it's like coach speak, but, when we watch the tape against Minnesota, and I give a lot of credit to PJ and what they do, but, when they run a 2-man route and we drop 8 guys in the coverage and they complete a pass for 10 to 12 yards because we didn't push through and cover the flat, I don't know how much credit I can give them. And so to me, that's us getting our players to understand what their responsibilities are and to go out and execute them. And, So as far as what Indiana does, I mean, number one, we don't know who their quarterback's going to be. That's always a challenge. We expected to be the number 0 kid that finished the game last week, but it really doesn't matter who it is. We need to be prepared that what we've put on tape, and we say this often, that, in baseball, if you can't hit the curveball, guess what you're going to see? You're going to see the curveball. Well, I would expect that with their quarterbacks being banged up, they're going to line up and say, well, let's look and see what Minnesota did. And so we better get the things that we haven't been able to correct it this week, and expect them to come in and try to run the ball down our throat. On the offensive side, we better be able to protect the football and then find a way to generate some explosive plays, because they do some good stuff on defense, very multiple. They come from all over the place. The scheme on defense is one of those schemes that you better have all of your rules in place to make sure you keep your quarterback protected. I can think back unfortunately having to watch that Indiana game from last year. Our quarterback didn't play well in that game. We threw some interceptions that, again, as I look back on the tape, that's on me as the head coach and us as coaches of making sure we do things that we can get executed. And so we're doing everything we can this week to put a great plan together, and it's going to be about the Terps beating Indiana and us not beating ourselves.
Hey, Coach.
What's up, Jacob?
Doing good. How are you?
Great, man.
We saw Brandon Jennings get reintroduced to the depth chart this week. Are there any specific expectations about his playing time after getting a couple snaps in there against Minnesota?
Yeah, we'll try to get Brandon in. We rotate guys in there still. Ahmad has stepped in and done a formidable job for us, along with Ruben in the interior. You saw Kobe McDonald playing some, Brandon Jennings, and then obviously Jeremy Spragan's there at the inside linebacker position. But when you have a guy like Brandon, because as I've said, his type of play or style of play is a heavy-handed style of play that it's good for teams that like to run the football. And so it's good to have him back. He wasn't 100% in this game, but he's getting close to being, and you'll see his playing time continue to increase as he gets more comfortable being back out there.
Mike, I know you live in a world where it's just one game at a time, one day at a time, but Halloween is Sunday. If you could go through the Locksley game plan for candy distribution, do you chart the first 15 candy bars, and did you have a parental candy tax with the kids?
Well, been on a 3-game losing streak. I'm a little nervous to let somebody come knock on my door, so I'll have to start with that first, that we may just leave it out front and just let them just grab what they want. But no, obviously an opportunity. Our players, I love it. We'll get the Jones Hill house decorated up, and we'll make sure these guys understand that we take care of our players here, and we're excited to have this the reunion back. We're excited that Coach Friesian is coming back, who has been a great mentor for me, and it's great to see guys like Bruce Perry, who's coming back, who was an integral part of that 01 team, and was Offensive Player of the Year as a sophomore. And just thinking back to that team, and I see a lot of similarities with this team that we have here right now. And I just hope this team, a lot like the 01 team, is sick and tired of being sick and tired, and put our best foot forward this weekend and get back on the winning track. All right, guys, thanks.